This is the new GWM Haval H6GT, and it is what I would describe as a Lamborghini Urus from Temu. Now I know, I get it, not everyone has $1 million to spend on a Lamborghini, but there are some areas here which I think don't cut it as a budget-focused model. It certainly looks sporty though. You've got black highlights and carbon fiber trimmings or carbon fiber style trimmings across the front. Lots of other black trimmings around the window sills and roof rails, side mirrors. You've even got a roof-mounted rear wing, a neat lip spoiler in black, of course, and then more carbon fiber style trimming along the back, and even a red GT badge. As I've said before, with sort of cheaper focused models, the wheels kind of sit inwards a bit. It'd be good if they were just pushed out a little bit more so they sit flush with the bodywork. Look at that little wing there. You know it's got some speed when you've got one of those happening. This even has quite a lot of power now, and it is very quick. GWM claims 0 to 100 in just 4.9 seconds. So that's serious performance for this price range and for this segment of vehicle. Under the bonnet, you've got a 1.5 litre four-cylinder engine paired with a plug-in hybrid electric motor assist system, combining to produce 321 kilowatts and over 700 Newton meters. This is connected up to a 2-speed automatic. Now, with that level of performance, I would expect, actually not that I would expect, I know that other vehicles that can do 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds and or produce 320 kilowatts come with a certain level of engineering and even features and components that are quite hardcore. For example, look at these brakes. There's nothing special about these brakes at all. Very conventional calipers, although they are painted red, not even very big, and it doesn't come with floating discs. Now, floating discs, just as a quick and easy way of explaining it, means the disc isn't one piece with the hub. So when the disc gets hot, it doesn't warp and expand. A Volkswagen Golf, a Golf R, comes with floating discs. You might think, okay, this will probably stop from 100 or do an emergency stop just fine, and we'll find out later on in the performance test. Whether it will do 2 back-to-back or repeated performance, I don't know. And then you might argue, well, when do you ever do 2 repeated emergency stops? Well, let me put it to you this way. You've got 2 vehicles, both have 320 kilowatts, both can do 0 to 100 in whatever, 4.9 seconds. One can do repeated emergency stops and one can't. What are you going to put your family in? I'm going to put my family in the one that can. It does at least come with decent Michelin tyres, Primacy, I mean nothing special, but 235s front and rear, that's a reasonable width, I guess, for this amount of power, maybe. I mean, if you look at some rivals that produce, or any vehicle that produces 320 kilowatts, it's probably going to have 245s or 255s on it. But again, it comes back to that price. You're not paying much, so you don't get the good components, but it's in the area of safety that concerns me. And we'll go for a drive in a minute and I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, 320 kilowatts feels like too much for this style of vehicle. Again, I get it. Not everybody wants to go fast around a track and all of that sort of thing. My concern is this can get up to speed very, very quickly, so it should be extremely well balanced. Anyway, let's check out more of the vehicle. Inside, it's actually quite a nice cabin. Excellent spread of materials. You've got this kind of carbon fiber trim, mostly soft touch. It feels very well made. Even the dashboard's got this rubbery coating. And excellent cabin acoustics. Like, it feels almost like a premium vehicle. There's nothing wrong with the way this is made, fit and finish and all of that. Even the design is pretty good. But there are some areas, again, which kind of feel like someone's made this vehicle and no one's checked it off. It's like this is a first draft or something. For example, the steering column, it does pull in and out and goes up and down, but it doesn't pull out enough, in my opinion. So unless you've got short legs, you've got to kind of drive a little bit awkwardly. I've got to slide my seat forward, and then I'm kind of sitting too close kind of thing. The steering wheel itself is also quite large. It almost feels like you're driving with a salad bowl or something like that. Other elements, it does come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but my phone's just a S24 Samsung, I think. It won't connect via Android Auto on the USB on the driver's side. I've got to use the one on the passenger side. So that's convenient, isn't it? The passenger has to do a bit of a reach around to get to your USB port. Other things, there's no volume knob, so you've got to use voice command or buttons on the steering wheel to adjust the volume. And you might think, well, what's wrong with that? Well, if you're having a conversation with someone, you've got to go, hang on a minute, stop talking everyone. I've got to talk to the vehicle to turn the music down or up. Like, there's nothing wrong with a volume knob, in my opinion. I've never driven a vehicle and gone, oh, you stupid volume knob, get out of the way. Like, it's so easy. It's like they're fixing things that aren't broken by removing volume knobs. Some other areas, the screen does have some shortcut menus, so you can easily turn down the brightness, and it's not too bad in terms of nighttime driving, because it is kind of a dark theme going on, and it's just really fine lines bordering everything. Whoops. It's actually pretty good in terms of the brightness. I think the instrument cluster is still a little bit too bright for night driving, but when I connect via Android Auto, if I want to adjust the temperature or put air recirculation on, which I did the other night as I was coming into a tunnel, there's no buttons down here to do it. Again, unless you use the voice command, and you have to know the exact prompts to do that, which I get it. You might get used to it after driving it for a while. But I've got so many button pushes, I'm not focusing on the road, I'm just fiddling around with the screen to get out of Android Auto, to get to the climate menu, which there isn't an immediately obvious one. You've got to push the home button, and then you can go into here, wait for it to load for a second, and then your air recirculation there. Again, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with just having separate climate controls. I don't see what the whole big deal is about jamming everything into a screen. It just means you've got to use that screen for multiple things. And when you're driving along, I just don't think that's practical. It's, you know, it's efficient packaging and stylistically because there's no buttons, but who cares? I'd rather just have, you've got some buttons here anyway, so why not just put 7 more here that do the rest of these functions? You do have a wireless charger though, so I guess the passenger can use that. And you do have a fair bit of storage. This is a floating console. So you've got twin cup holders that sort of moves down in and out. And then a decent sized center console box. And then in the back, all of the amenities that you need. Climate vents, multiple charging ports. There's no USB-C, it's only the old school A. You've got map pockets in the backs of the front seats. And a decent amount of headroom. Remember, this is a 4-door coupe kind of SUV, so you are going to be restricted a little bit, but it kind of slopes down after the head position. There's actually a little bit of a concave bit there, so your head can go in even with the sunroof, and it drops down straight after. I've got decent leg room. I mean, I'm only 170 centimeters, but I think even tall people or normal height people would have no problem here. Like, my knees are nowhere near the seat in my seating position. Then you've got more of that quality trim, kind of like a suede section, and then more of that carbon fiber style of trim, soft touch as well, like it's a material of some sort, for the rear doors, which is good to see. And up at the back, electric tailgate. You've got a decent amount of room, just again, yeah, keeping in mind this is a coupe style SUV, so the tailgate does slope down a bit. You're not going to get big bulky items in here like you can with a SUV wagon style layout, but you've got a range of hooks and so on. You've got a 12-volt socket as well. It's a decent space. And under the floor, you've charging cables and some extra storage. As I've said before, with any plug-in hybrid, if you are considering buying one of these, which is a plug-in hybrid, then you should absolutely plug it in regularly too. Otherwise, you're not going to get the benefits of this technology. In this case, this offers a range of around, electric range of around 180 kilometers, which leads the class. Quite good, actually. But if you don't plug it in, you're going to be relying on that 1.5 engine to supply energy for the electric motor. And it chews anywhere from sort of 8, 9, 10 and upwards, 10 litres per 100 kilometres, which is not very good for this style of vehicle. I guess you could say for this level of performance, it's not too bad, but yeah, you're not getting the benefits. I think you should plug it in, or at least plan to plug it in once a week or something like that, and you'll really maximize what this thing can do. Just before we go, we've got lots of different drive modes we can play around with, which is, yeah, quite impressive. The technology in here is good. No one's complaining about the technology level and availability. So I've got it in the intelligent hybrid mode, and then I've got charge reserve forced, and that will force the petrol engine to get the battery up to 80% because I've got to do performance testing. Now I realize that's going to chew even more fuel. So if you just put it in EV priority and leave it on intelligent mode for the charge reserve and drive it normally, as I said, drive it like a hybrid, then you're still going to be using a fair bit of energy. I've only been driving this for a short time and it's averaging 7.3 litres per 100 kilometres. As I said, I've only been driving it since the battery was 100% when I picked it up. And it's dropped down to 76% just getting here, and I've had that forced mode on for about half of that time. And then you do have different drive mode settings as well: normal, eco, sport, snow, all-wheel drive, sand, mud, and then you can change the steering mode as well. I'll put it on comfort. I like a little bit of weight, but not too much. Sport just adds more weight. It doesn't make the vehicle any more powerful or anything like that, like any of these modes, but it will just change the way it feels. We've even got a wading mode if you want to go through some water. Okay, the first thing you might notice, well, I notice, is along a road like this, so lots of bumps and off-camber bits and pieces. I like this road because it puts vehicles under a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of creaks and rattles from the doors. Like the rubbers in the doors, front and back, are like squeaking up against the door jambs, and that's a sign of perhaps torsional rigidity. And I get it if it's a long vehicle, you know, with a long wheelbase. This is only a small SUV, then sometimes that can happen, or a convertible with no roof, so that loses some torsional stiffness, whereas this, yeah, it shouldn't be rattling around. I'm not even pushing it or anything like that, so this is normal driving conditions. Now the handling, well, it's very soft, and yes, I get it, not everyone wants a bone-shatteringly rigid SUV to drive around, but this is just too soft. Like it feels like it's going to fall over almost, and the tyres are working hard even when I'm not putting it under that much pressure. So if I was actually maximizing that 320 kilowatts and pushing it a little bit, because at the end of the day, why did GWM fit it with 320 kilowatts and claim 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds if it didn't intend this thing to go pretty quickly, then yeah, it does start to fall apart, and it's not as dynamic as it should be, in my opinion. It does feel like it drives like an electric vehicle most of the time. You can't really hear the engine whining away in the background. It's got instant response like an EV. So yeah, it does have sporty intentions and, you know, a certain level of capability. Full power, bit of wheel spin, catapulting me out of the corner while raising the nose and squatting the rear like a speedboat. Now, again, I think that it should be on top of that. This is 2025. Not many vehicles will have that kind of pitch and roll attitude, especially when they're focused on performance, which I think this is. As I said, 4.9 seconds. I think this is meant to be pretty sporty. If you're in a Nissan Patrol Y62, that does raise the nose when you floor it, but that is a serious off-road vehicle. This is not. Okay, we'll get it out of the forced mode and we'll just put it in sport mode for a minute, just to see what this thing can actually do. Drive mode setting, sport. Hazards flash for some reason to tell you you've done that. And I'll just put EV priority. Little buttons here as well. You got to really be fiddly while you're driving. Yeah, a little bit of understeer, and the nose is lifting right up around here. Fair bit of lean going on. It's absorbing the bumps quite nicely, as you'd expect. It is very soft, but yeah, it doesn't feel confidence inspiring really. Like I feel like I could throw the weight around and really upset the balance of the vehicle. Now to back off then a little bit, lumbering about. See, normally with a vehicle that could do 4.9 seconds, I could go around that corner pretty much flat and it will just yank me around like a kid on a clothesline. This is not doing that. It's lumbering about, as I said, and lurching, pitching and all that sort of thing. This is not a performance, well, what I would describe as a performance SUV. It does have heaps of power, but it doesn't manage it very well. Yeah, so in terms of chassis dynamics and handling, I think this is rubbish. Like, it's not very well sorted for this level of performance. Again, if this was just, you know, pretty slow, or not slow, but, you know, normal, like a normal SUV that had the good technology, that's fine. It doesn't need to handle very good. But as I said before, when you're dealing with speed and acceleration, serious speed and acceleration, I think you do have to bump up the handling and braking capability and all of that. As a normal plug-in hybrid, yeah, this is fine. As I said, the technology is actually very impressive for this class. All right, let's head out now to do the performance test and see what it goes like.